Hello, Earthlings. Welcome to First Contact Radio. Hope you had a great weekend. It's been very busy around here. We've got some things, ideas, and shows we're looking into bringing to you in the near future, so stay tuned for some more good information. What we're going to do in the mornings now is I'm going to start everything off. I've just been doing just the space weather, and then before I was doing the dream spell. Well, now I'm doing a whole grouping of things. We're going to kind of label it under the term cosmic weather, and it's going to involve a number of different aspects. So first thing we're going to do within here is I'm going to give you we're going to go to the space weather today. Space weather, as you can see here, is 356.5 kilometers per second. That's the solar wind at this moment. We see that our planetary K index is at a 0, expected to be about a 1 within the next 24 hours. And over the course of the weekend, it did get a bit higher. It did get to a 3 and a 4. And we could see that our chances of M-class flares are very low. If you're looking up in the sky tonight, you are going to see the conjunction between the moon and Jupiter. So that should be quite an image looking out into the sky. We've got also a growing threat of flares happening. This is what a difference a weekend makes. Since Friday, sunspot 1363 has nearly tripled in area and has developed the Delta-class magnetic field that harbors energies for X-class solar flares. So we'll be paying attention to see what kind of flares come off of this. Now, what do we want to, other than the space weather, astrologically today we are in the sign of Sagittarius. Now I think it's important that you understand where we are with all of the different energies we're working with on a day. Certainly knowing what's going on in the solar system with the weather, with the cosmos is important. But then there's this other stuff like astrology, the dream spell, numerology, I Ching, all these other sciences. And they're just simply that. They're sciences. And they all help us to understand how things operate and work. Now, I know that there's a lot of different thought from those who think that these sciences are wrong and they go against God, and I know that there are those who think that these are sciences that actually work with the idea of what God wants to be expressed. I'm of that mindset. I don't believe that these things are here for any evil intent because they don't carry any weight with them. They just help us to understand what is going on out there with particular energies in life, because everything around us is energy. Okay? Now, these energies have been studied for a long time. As a matter of fact, if we read in the Bible, when it talks about the 3 wise men who came to visit Jesus, there were 3 astrologers. So the idea of astrology, understanding the stars, is very important. If it wasn't important for us to understand that there were astrologers at that time associated, the Bible wouldn't make those kind of references at all. They would have completely left them out. But they're there because they're important. So astrologically, we've got 12 signs. We're now in the sign of Sagittarius. It goes from November 22nd to December 21st. And Sagittarius is a time, it's the hunter. It's the half man, half horse. And the sign is all about philosophy, higher education, things of that nature. Truthfulness being revealed. It's got a lot of positive aspects to it. And Sagittarius is ruled over by the sign or the planet of Jupiter, which is a planet of expansion. And so what we need to understand from an energetic standpoint is we're in a phase of time when we're looking at how energy is expanding in our lives. And when energy becomes expansive, it allows us the opportunity to grow. And that is where the idea of philosophy comes in, because as our mind is growing, we become more philosophical in our thoughts and what we are doing. We're also in a phase called a Mercury retrograde, and these happen 3 times a year. Now, the way to look at astrology is at the time that a person is born, all of the planets and stars are in a particular alignment, like a recipe, and that's the recipe that makes up you. And through the course of life, as we look outside and we see what the energies of our everyday, we see what the daily recipe is. And we understand how that energy is moving and how we work and fit within all of these energetic patterns that are out there. And that's very important because this next stage of our galactic graduation is about understanding on a deeper level how energy really works. And these are things the great creator puts for us to understand so we can work better in accord with each other, and we can work to understand the great glory that the creator has given to us. So we're in a time of Sagittarius, philosophy, higher education, expansion. We also have this thing called a Mercury retrograde going on. And Mercury retrograde is a phase where the planet Mercury, which is a planet that deals with our intellect down here on the planet, it seems to be going backwards. It's not really going backwards, but it appears to be. And the term retrograde is go back a grade. So during our Mercury retrograde time, it's a good phase when reviewing old work is important. It's not really a time when you jump into something brand new and start it off, because there are times in life where we need to follow the flow, ebb and flow of the universe. And sometimes the universe says go, and sometimes it says stop. And by paying attention to what the universe is telling us, we are able to get more in synchronicity with what's going on. Now, from a standpoint of the moon, because we got two big lights in the sky, we got the sun and the moon. The sun deals with our consciousness. The moon deals with our subconscious. And right now, the moon is in the phase of Aries, because every 2.5 days, the moon goes to another sign. So right now we're in the sign of Aries. Aries is the leader in tarot cards, which is very connected to all of these systems as well. The card of the Emperor, the card of leadership, the card of stepping forth with pioneering ideas. So today could be a really good opportunity for people when you combine the expansiveness of Jupiter with the leadership and pioneering efforts of the Aries. You could see that you mix these together, it could be a good opportunity to really expand one's thoughts, or maybe move forward with some new creative adventure, something in those arenas. The idea is to learn how these energies work with you. Remember, these are all energies that are part of the great cosmos. They are energies that affect all of us, and the better we understand the energies all around us, the better we're able to work with them. So we've got the moon in Aries, and our moon phase, as you can see right here, is we are in a waxing moon. It's 79% full. So just a couple days, we're going to have that full moon next weekend, and there is an eclipse that's going to be going on, which should be quite fascinating indeed. And the very last thing we have here is our dream spell. I'm bringing this back now. Our dream spell. Now the dream spell it's not exactly the Mayan calendar, but it is based on the Mayan calendar. And the whole idea of a calendar, it's a system of agreement of time that we use. Well, for many, many thousands of years, the ancient ones of the planet have understood the calculation of time in a much different way than we do. And they followed 13 moon calendars instead of 12-month calendars. They understood that every month was in a synchronistic pattern. Every month was the same amount of time, 28 days, 13 months. It's a much different ordered system, because the great creator is ordered. It is not all random that is out there. And so the dream spell for today, it's called the White Galactic World Bridger, because every day has a name to it. White, there's 4 colors, red, white, blue, and yellow. They all work and represent a different energy. White is the energy of refinement. Therefore, today is a day of refinement. The galactic tone is the 8th tone. You can see it represented by the bar and the 3 dots. It's called the galactic tone of integrity. And then the symbol for today, the World Bridger, is about life and death, understanding how the two worlds work together, because this world that we're living in right now, that we're experiencing, is not the only one. And what we experience on the other side of the veil when we pass through in the process of death is not the end of the world, but it's another world as well. We're all living in these worlds, the many mansions that God makes reference to often, the many mansions. And so we are just in one, and this particular mansion is this earthly mansion at this period of time. Now, in the dream spell, the guide for today is the dog, and there's a phrase: I harmonize in order to equalize, modeling opportunity. I seal the store of death with the galactic tone of integrity. I am guided by the power of heart. And finally, on the Gregorian calendar, it is Monday, December 5th, 2011. Now, as you know, I took some time off from doing the dream spell. I wanted to see what it was like, because I hadn't taken some time off, and I wanted to explore a few ideas and thoughts about time, and I know there's a lot of different thought about the different systems of the Mayans, the Mayan calendar, the dream spell calendar. Is it right? Is it not right? Is the Mayan calendar right? What's going on? Well, all I know is that I've been using the dream spell and following along with looking at that ordering of time for a while, and it all seems to be very synchronistic in my life, and I see it very synchronistic in what's going on out there in life and in nature itself. So that in itself is enough for me, how it feels and what I've experienced through it. It isn't the kind of thing you're supposed to give your power over to. Neither is the astrology or any of these other systems. They're simply tools. The same way when we turn on the television and we look at the weather report, that's all it is. Understanding what the cosmic weather is out there in the universe. So there you have it. There's my long-winded intro about the cosmic weather section. We're going to be doing this every day from now on. Today just spoke a little bit more so I could really kind of get you more involved in the process. All right, our first story up today is a story about Ron Paul, our favorite candidate on the show. He did a really good interview the other day, so I'm going to play this interview for you here so you can hear exactly what Ron Paul had to say. There we go.
Joins me now from his home state of Texas. Congressman, you were greeted this morning by a new Des Moines Register poll that I want to share with our audience. It's showing Newt Gingrich on top at 25%, and then coming in second, Ron Paul at 18%, beating out Mitt Romney at 16%, and everyone else in the single digits. How do you take these numbers and roll it into a victory in January? Have you got the manpower to do it?
Of course, it is very encouraging because we're getting pretty close to being within the margin of error. So I think we continue to do what we're doing. You know, we've had the flavors of the month up and down, so far in this campaign. I'd like to think of myself as the flavor of the decade, so we keep plodding along on a couple issues that are really striking a chord with the people. And that is, of course, the wars, the endless wars going on, as well as the financial condition of the country, because I've been talking about, the housing bubble and the financial situation that we have and the crisis going on, and even the recent promises that we, the United States, with our dollar, will bail out Europe. So these issues are, striking a chord with the people, and I think this is why we are doing so well in the polls, not only in Iowa, but we have some similar results up in New Hampshire.
You are, in fact, doing well in New Hampshire. But I wanted to ask you, so I want to show another poll that we have done. This is a CNN ORC poll, and the question is, which Republican candidate has the best chance to beat President Obama? Mitt Romney, 40%. Newt Gingrich, 21%. Herman Cain was still in it when this poll came out, 16%. You are down at 4%, and this is a poll among Republicans. So there are Republicans in Iowa putting you in second place, and yet only 4% of Republicans see you as the one best able to beat President Obama. Can you explain that to me?
Well, if you're starting to talk about the general election, that poll doesn't mean very much, because you take, even in the primary up in New Hampshire, the largest number of registered voters in New Hampshire are independents. But go out and do a poll just on independents and put my name up against Obama. All of a sudden, the disenfranchised and the people from the left who are upset with the constant wars and the attack on our civil liberties, they're really down on the president, and they're down on the economy. So I would bet you would get a completely different results. And you don't win just with the hardcore Republican base. You have to have a candidate that's going to appeal across the political spectrum. And I think with my views, they're quite different than the hard-edged views that so many on the Republican side frequently are showing.
Well, in fact, you're right. It does take more than just Republicans, or for Democrats, just Democrats, to win a general election. But would you agree with the premise that when when it comes down to that night in Iowa, and when it comes down to that primary night in New Hampshire, what Republicans most want, and they're the ones who are going to decide the nominee, what they most want is someone who can beat President Obama, and they rate so many people above you, and that's why I think it's important to talk about electability, because it is a factor in how people view you.
Yeah, and I would say that if the people in Iowa wouldn't consider me a good option to beat Obama, I wouldn't be a close second in there. So it's already reflecting a favorable rating for that. But I think you point out, maybe you're giving me subtly some good advice. You better keep working, and that is what we have to convince the primary voters, that we can do a good job in the general. And that, of course, is part of the campaign, and I think that's where we're making progress.
Trust me, Congressman, you don't want to take election advice from me no matter what. Let me ask you about the departure of Herman Cain. What is it inside? This was a man with huge appeal to the Tea Party, and who does leave some voters in Iowa and elsewhere looking for another candidate. What is it in Ron Paul's campaign that might attract a former Herman Cain supporter?
Well, I think you mentioned the right word, the Tea Party people, because actually the Tea Party was started during the last campaign 4 years ago with our campaign. It's morphed into different things, and it's broad-based, and it's not monolithic. But there are a lot of people who call themselves Tea Party people that did like the independent-mindedness of Herman Cain. So I think that we'll probably do better, even though some people are saying, oh, no, they're all going to go to so-and-so. But, no, I think that, and we're paying a lot of attention to that, because obviously they're going to go somewhere in the next week or so. That's going to happen. So I'm optimistic that we'll pick up some votes from there.
I don't know if you know it, but you're in a bit of a tiff with Donald Trump at this point, who was told that you were not going to participate in a debate that he apparently is going to host, and he said nobody takes him seriously, he's a clown, etc., etc. I know you did not want to participate in the debate because you feel similarly about Donald Trump. Do you think the Republican Party hurts itself by having a high-profile debate with Donald Trump as the moderator?
Well, yeah, and of course, some of that debate was going on from one of the staffers that liked to take him on, but obviously that he was representing me. But yes, I think they hurt themselves. But you know, in the statement that I approved, it said that one of the concerns that I had was really how he was treating the Republican Party of Iowa. And he didn't treat them well, because he had agreed to come to their biggest fundraiser of the year because he was talking about running. When he changed his mind about not running, he canceled on them. They had to cancel the event. And that was a bit of an insult to them. So I've gotten a lot of good, favorable responses from the people of Iowa, even the people in the party that appreciated the fact that I mentioned that, because they were very unhappy with the way he treated them by just stiffing them and walking away from it, and they were left holding the bag.
What do you make of his popularity? I mean, he said, oh, my poll numbers when I was in were higher than Ron Paul's. Why do you think people like him? And you know, Newt Gingrich is going to this debate. Others have said they're going to go to the debate, but you don't want to.
Yeah, I don't quite understand it. I don't understand the marching to his office. I mean, I didn't know that he had an ability to lay on hands, you know, and anoint people. But you know, I have to just do my thing. I don't think he's, obviously, if, you know, early on, even at CPAC, he volunteered the first attack on me. But evidently, you know, he probably doesn't like my position on the Federal Reserve. You know, easy credit for developers and investors, you know, they like easy credit, and they like the Federal Reserve, and they like that for bailing out. So, I don't know, it may be deep down philosophic, and of course, his position on China was quite different. So I think it's philosophic, and probably his personality that doesn't like to be challenged.
This week, the president has gotten a lot of good news that might be able to sort of pump up his campaign. Consumer confidence is up. New home sales are up. Construction spending is up. And unemployment is down. Do you think this helps his campaign? And it fits into what certainly the Obama re-elect people have told us, which is they just have to show people that the trajectory of the economy is going in the right direction. And certainly this week would say that it is.
Well, I think so. I think the headlines helps them. Sometimes I think we overdo it. Presidents get a lot of credit and a lot of blame, and sometimes they deserve neither. But I think the headlines helps them. But when you go out and talk to the people, all of a sudden, the people I talk to aren't that optimistic. And when you look at those unemployment figures, actually unemployment is still a serious problem. There was more people dropped out of the workforce than the people who got jobs. And if you use the old-fashioned way of measuring unemployment, the statistics are pretty bad. The tendency of the government, when it talks about unemployment or the CPI, the inflation rate, they fudge the figures if they're not very favorable. And the unemployment, if you measure them the way we used to measure them, actually, and I believe these figures, but the free market economists who measure it say we have a 22% unemployment when you add up everybody who doesn't look for work, who are just partially employed, or the people looking for jobs. So it is bad. The people know it. The sentiment is bad. And they also understand that their cost of living is going up and their standard of living is going down, and there's very little confidence out there. But superficially and for a short time, maybe these headlines will give a little bump. But believe me, bump from the very bottom on housing really doesn't reassure that many people.
Congressman and presidential candidate Ron Paul, thank you for joining us today.
This is the UFO News with Joshua Poet.
All right, Dirk, thank you very much. This is the UFO News for today. I've got 4 stories for you. Story number 1 comes to us from UFO at New York, nyufo.com. Spy UFO or government drone? Says, this 30-second video can either be a computer-generated CGI, advanced government agency spy drone, or a clear sighting of an alien craft maneuvering over these buildings in France. You be the judge. Here's a look at this video. Check it out, see what you think. There's the object right up here, and it looks like it's going to zoom in momentarily. Okay, there's a little bit more of a closer look. Alright, now, the question being asked, is this real? Is this a drone, or is this just something made with computer graphics? I think this video will certainly be explored by others to see what it is, but definitely quite fascinating indeed. Now, our next story takes us over to Tracy Pierce over at Examiner.com. UFO in Nevada reportedly caused static in radios within 10 miles. On Friday, December 2nd, 2011, an amateur videographer and astronomer in Nevada reportedly spotted a UFO in the sky overhead. This individual was able to record the UFOs on video for approximately 3.5 minutes. The witness has not been named, but has been communicating exclusively with Secret UFO Footage, aka Secure Team 10 on YouTube, about the incident. Secret UFO Footage posted the online video along with a description that reads, "The object in question looks like it has 3 visible parts and clearly changes in shape, which can be seen on the target part of the UFO. It was reported to have sat in the sky for some time and looks very large in size from the vantage point of the cameraman. If you notice, this craft looks very similar to the one filmed years ago that had similar color and irregular shape. It was said that the radios within the area were experiencing static within 10 miles of the craft." Alright, let's take a look at this video here. See exactly what was seen by the viewer. Okay. We're going to zip ahead a bit here. Alright, is this the light? Nope. Alright, we're looking for the UFO here. I don't see anything yet, do you? Appeared to be this is the object that he seems to be zooming on, and this seems to be the strange lights. Okay, very interesting indeed. Alright, so that video is available online. FirstContactRadio.com, right hand side UFO News. Check it out yourself, see what you think about that one. We have a sighting now, comes to us from latest-UFOsightings.net. UFO recorded over Lake Constance in Switzerland on the 4th of December. Bright unidentified flying object was recorded in the night sky above Switzerland near Lake Constance on Sunday. Let's check this out. Alright, I'm guessing, is this it over here? There's something right there. Okay, you could see it up there. It just kind of appeared from behind the clouds or from somewhere, and it's zipping across the sky. Not quite certain what that is. Check out the video. Maybe you might have some ideas when you look at it. And our last story comes to us from the UFO Digest. Story is 2012 ET Spirit Ascension. Age, extraterrestrial UFO messages in Tectonic Economics. Submitted by TJTM on Sunday. Okay, extraterrestrial incoming messages are sent every day. Whether or not a humanoid, sentient, intelligent being is balanced and in tune to receive these vibrations is up to each individual. It's time we all learn about the body-mind-spirit unit as a vehicle for our souls. Those who study as spiritual intellectuals will be more apt to learn what is required for our own eternal soul's progression. Social entrepreneurs will need to learn who their friends are as their spiritual intellectuals who believe the future global tectonic economics for the health and prosperity of all Earth and in space. Some of us are sharing our findings of that which we call the Age of Enlightenment to begin December 21st, 2012 at 11:11 on this planet. We are they who have kept up with the ontology and the metaphysical information. This is the reality of the spiritual intellectuals and those of the extraterrestrials, which is called global tectonic economics, that was left to be shared by others who came before the enlightened us up to a certain level of time where we could begin to use their life maps on the paths they chose while walking this planet. We are all important, and that means that no one being is excluded from the critical mass mind. We all play a part in sharing that which was created for all of us. And there's much more to this article, but I'm going to leave that up to you to go read and figure that out. The important thing that I think needs to just be emphasized is we are less than a month now away from 2012. We've heard a lot of talk about 2012 for some time now. 2012, this is going to be an interesting year. It's a year where a lot of things appear to be coming together down on this planet. And certainly the extraterrestrial message to this planet is going to be much more of a focus over the course of this year. You have to remember that there are beings on this planet that do not want to see things evolve in the way that the spirit brothers and sisters, the star nations, want to see us evolve. There are those on this planet that have come from other worlds, that have ill intent for this planet, and you know who they are because they are slowly destroying this planet. Unfortunately, these ill-willed individuals who have at one point come from the stars, they are in factions of our government and in the leadership that is supposed to be moving us forward. Instead, they are lying to the people of the planet and following their own agendas. Now, very soon, we're going to see more activity in the sky. And when you do, you just need to be prepared and understand that the truth is not being told to you by the mainstream. They're just trying to scare you that there's going to be an invasion or something of that nature. But if there was going to be an invasion, it would have already happened. There's much more things at hand. There's much more consciousness involved with the process of change that we're going through. It's a galactic graduation, and it's going to be something that is going to help you to grow to be more of who it is that you want to be and need to be. Alright, that's the UFO news for today. I'm going to jump away to a song. The song's called Wake Up. I'll be back. What if our government was responsible for some of the greatest crimes against this nation? Would you really want to know? These are big questions, but these questions deserve answers. It's time to demand the truth.
wake up, wake up. Wake up, wake up, wake up, wake up. Wake up, wake up, wake up. Patriots arise. It's time to demand the truth.
All right, welcome back, everybody. Okay, next up. There was a bill that was passed last week. We read the information on here, and you've heard about it in some places out there, but the mainstream media is not really dealing with the subject. The National Defense Authorization Act. What a draconian bill this is. This bill is set out to make all Americans now potential domestic terrorists because it labels the United States of America a battleground. This is something we really need to pay attention to, because if the bills and if the powers that be get their way, they want this to be set up so that the military can step in at a moment's notice, arrest an American citizen without any reason, without reading them any rights, take them and detain them indefinitely, and as we have heard in some instances, even assassinate the American citizens. Now, this is not right. This completely goes against the Founding Fathers, and it appears that this bill seems to have the intent of going completely against the Constitution of the United States. Well, I think we're going to be dealing with this one for a while, and I think that we're all going to have to pay attention to really what is in this bill and how it's going to affect us. To the military personnel out there, I just want to remind you, you swore an oath to protect and defend the Constitution of the United States. What happens if the Constitution is repealed and not put in place? Then what does that what does that mean for you? What are you about? If the thing that you made your pledge to pledge to protect and defend the Constitution, if that is removed, then what is your purpose in the military? It's a good thought, isn't it? Your purpose is to protect and defend the Constitution, and if they try to remove it, then your purpose is to make sure that the Constitution is reinstated. That is what the military is about. All this other nonsense that is going on, it's Nazi-like behavior coming from an administration that doesn't seem to care about what's going on with the country. Not only this administration, but other administrations. And I say Nazi-like because it's very easy to go and link the Bushes to the Nazis. It's very easy to connect the CIA to the Nazis. There's a very definite connection with that mindset and the mindset going on here in the United States with the politicians. It's pretty scary. It's something we all need to pay attention to. In this regard, I'm going to play this full clip. This is from InfoWars, and it says Nazi UFO USA Congress declares war on citizens. Here we go.
The indefinite detention bill passed 93-7 in the Senate. Similar version in the House has gone through. They have to reconcile it. The Senate last night codified into law the power of the U.S. military to indefinitely detain an American citizen with no charge, no trial, and no oversight whatsoever in the passage of S. 1867, the National Defense Authorization Act. And though the White House has threatened to veto this bill, the fact that the Obama administration's lawyers yesterday reaffirmed their backing for state-sponsored assassination of U.S. citizens would suggest otherwise. And, of course, there are a number of executive orders and precedents of executive overreach, which already have many aspects of this on the book. But the idea of passing this legislation is, of course, nightmarish. Paul Joseph Watson has also uncovered an even worse amendment in this bill, which was narrowly defeated. This amendment would have made the Senate bill give it allowance to detain Americans even after they had been found innocent. The details of that report are up on Infowars.com and PrisonPlanet.com. But before you go to those websites, I do want to draw attention to a little bit of the details. Amendment number 1274 would have given the federal government the power to detain U.S. citizens until Congress declared the war on terror over, which we've been told is a never-ending, multi-generational conflict. The provision also gave the feds the power to keep an American incarcerated even if it were tried and found not guilty. So much monstrous legislation coming through this larger National Defense Act. Of course, Alex Jones and many other patriots have cried shame over it, but are ordinary Americans even paying any attention to it at all with Black Friday and the holiday season underway? To find out, we went to Darren McBreen.
The National Defense Authorization Act empowers the U.S. military to operate on American soil. They can arrest American citizens and cart them off to detention centers anywhere in the world, basically turning the entire homeland into a battlefield and allowing the military to arrest individuals and detain them indefinitely without trial. Now, this violates every aspect of a free society by denying Americans their constitutionally protected right to due process. How do you think the average American is going to respond?
The same way they responded at the Kent State massacre when National Guard troops were used to fire live ammunition on students who were nonviolently protesting the Vietnam War. The American public was outraged.
The military is here to defend us, not to prosecute us and arrest us and throw us in jail. I think it's a sneak attack by Congress and people to, counter the movement on Wall Street.
These people are saying that the passing of the bill, basically it means to them that the Rubicon has been crossed, that this means America will become complete and possibly irreversible totalitarian military state.
Well, then our only hope is some defective armed force members.
I think that's our only chance, is the military needs to enforce our Constitution, and our congressmen are trampling over the rules that were established over 200 years ago. And that's the whole problem. There's too much corruption in the executive branch and in the congressional.
What would you say to active military who might be told to enforce this bill?
Listen, I'm a veteran of the United States Army, 31 uniform, airborne. I'll tell you what, very simply, we take an oath to protect this country from threats both foreign and domestic.
It's not good. It's not healthy for our democracy for the American Army to be involved.
For those people who say that, it could never happen here, it could never happen to us, those are called the famous last words. Many times throughout history, situations have happened where governments have turned their military against its citizens. You know what? History repeats itself. If that eventuality does happen, you have to remind yourself that these are your brothers and sisters and neighbors and people you went to school with. And remember what you're truly fighting for. It's for our Constitution, not for these puppets who are actually our servants who have run amok.
Now, Stuart Rhodes, the founder of Oath Keepers, recently appeared on the InfoWars Nightly News, and he warned people that we are now at the point where all that will save liberty in America is another American revolution.
But really, you should see this as a declaration of war against the American people. That's how we should see it. We need to stop this right now. If we don't, Alex, I do believe that there will be no recourse except another revolution. Otherwise, we are going to be lost. We will be put in the same position as the Founding Fathers were in 1775.
I want to tell the military and police, the globalists are going to sit offshore and watch you get chewed up in a fight with the American people. It's very important that police and military really make a decision now which side they're going to be on.
The military, you're right. Choose now whom you shall serve. Either you are, I'm talking to the military out there especially, either you are a son of the Republic and you will defend the Bill of Rights and the Constitution, or you are a traitor to your country and you are nothing but a lowly dog, an obedient dog to the powers that be. Choose now whom you shall serve.
There's a lot of constitutionalists out there who are in such an uproar that they are saying that this bill places us in almost exactly the same position that our forefathers were in when they were forced to take up arms in defense of liberty back in 1775.
Well, to those people, I would say it's a culmination of things that have put us in that position, and I would agree that the architects, the great and highly intelligent architects that constructed our infrastructure, the way we do business and the way we do politics and the way we live here in America, they would turn over in their graves, and they would be very ashamed of us and how far we've let this go.
Indefinite detention without due process leaves citizens without the legal protection of the Constitution, and it strikes at the very heart of the essence of U.S. law. It is positively shameful that any elected representative would even consider voting for such an assault on so sacred a fundamental value as the right to due process. I'm Darren McBreen for InfoWars Nightly News.
And of course, John McCain is the one who introduced legislation in 2010 along very similar lines. Great report from Darren. He obviously put a lot into it, but we don't do what the mainstream media does, interview 40, maybe 100 people, and then show just the handful who fit in with our views. We're going to show you the other people who will accept any government power and probably even serve to enforce that undue power. Let's go to that side of the report now.
What do you think is going to be the response of American citizens once they start seeing American troops on the street?
I think that most people are going to be divided. I don't do anything wrong, so I don't have anything to fear, so I'm not afraid of the military.
The military being on the streets of America, there's a new bill that's being passed.
It's a great idea. I'm all for it.
So you support to fight terrorism, military on the street?
Of course, I do.
So you think in order to fight terrorism, that would make you feel a little safer seeing military on the street?
Yeah. So I think the only people that are afraid of the military is people that commit crimes or, that are in criminal organizations. So.
And the combination of pure corruption and pure ignorance will be the death of this country. We're going to be back with a whole lot more after this. But just a quick reminder, you support us on this show, getting the word out with these hard-hitting reports by buying the subscriptions and the DVDs. But right now, for the holiday season, we have an incredible discount, $39.95 for the yearly Prison Planet subscription. You can share it with 5 other people, or you can get it with 18 of Alex's DVDs in shiny packages to give out as gifts at Christmas or any other holiday. And we would appreciate that support and urge you to do so. Give information instead of plastic junk and everything else. We'll be back in a moment with a whole lot more. Stay tuned.
All right, very good. I would highly encourage you to go over to InfoWars and show your support over there. They work hard to put a lot of great information out. Now you could see there is a lot of a disconnect on what people are thinking out there. People think it's okay to see the military in the street. That's because the mainstream media paints it out as if this is a good thing to happen. There's more of us, folks. There's more citizens in the United States of America than there are military, than there are administrations, government officials. There's millions more. This is a time to stand up. Unfortunately, we are being pushed into a corner where revolution is going to have to occur, because as you can see in the government right now are traitors. John McCain is a traitor to this country. Barack Obama is a traitor to this country. George Bush is a traitor to this country. Dick Cheney is a traitor to this country. On and on and on. This country has too many traitors. If you remember the Declaration of Independence, it happened because there were too much of the same corruptions taking place in 1775 and 1776 during that whole phase of time. And because of that, a group of men stood up against all that tyranny. What is needed now are brave men and women to stand up against the tyranny in this country, because unless you do, you're going to be extremely sorry when the bills that get passed come back to haunt you or hurt you and your family. I don't want to see that. I know you don't want to see that. So the best thing to do is share the information with others. Let them know what is going on so the country is more informed. Now, one candidate who certainly can help us is Ron Paul. Big fan of Ron Paul on this show. We want him to be the next president. This is another Ron Paul segment here. Ron Paul, the consistent candidate.
Ron Paul stood alone in predicting the impact on America of too much government, too much war, too much spending. Today, Ron Paul leads the pack as candidate after candidate recognizes reality.
Of course, Ron Paul was very happy tonight to have all the conversation about Bernanke and the Federal Reserve and the need to audit the Federal Reserve, which is an issue he's been pioneering for, I guess, 30 years now.
Congressman Paul was right on that.
I am on Ron Paul's bill to audit the Federal Reserve.
Running organizations like the TSA, I would agree with Representative Paul.
Congressman Paul, you're correct. You do exactly what Ron Paul said.
And Ron Paul does make a legitimate point.
Ron Paul, one message for 30 years.
We have allowed our nation to be overtaxed and overregulated and overrun by bureaucrats. The founders would be ashamed of us for what we're putting up with.
Ron Paul, right then, right now, right for America.
All right. Very good, folks. What you got to do is you got to stop drinking the Kool-Aid. And if you know people are drinking the Kool-Aid, you got to stop them. Now, what do I mean by that? The Kool-Aid is the lies, the poison that's being given into them by the government and the media. They're not being honest with you. Things are getting very, very bad in Washington and the bills that they are creating that are going to affect every American citizen. Every American citizen is going to be affected by this. The only way it's going to stop is if people step up and take their concerns away from the things that don't matter and pay attention to the important issues. Because you don't want to be on the side where you realize that all of your freedoms are gone and this great country has fallen and collapsed, do you? That's what we're on the verge of, because too many people have given up their freedoms, given up their beliefs in good, in God, and too many people have been giving up their beliefs in this country. You got to stop. You got to let other people know. They got to wake up. This is a very crucial, important time we're in, my friends. Don't be deceived by those in the mainstream media who are trying to downplay this, because this is serious. Now, this next video deals with the situation of a media downplaying a situation. Megyn Kelly. Megyn Kelly made a reference when she was on talking with Bill O'Reilly. She made a reference that the pepper spray was just a food product. A food product. Really? A food product that can go and hurt somebody? Well, Thom Hartman over here at RT has something to say about this.
Pepper spray is awful because no one's lining up volunteering to be pepper sprayed. Back a few years ago when we were debating whether or not waterboarding was torture, people were volunteering to be waterboarded all over the place.
Would you consent to be waterboarded so we could get the truth out of you?
Yeah, sure.
We can waterboard you?
Sure.
Are you busy on Sunday?
I'll do it for charity. Do I lay down here?
You lay down here, and he's okay. And Mancow is laying down on the table. It's about a 7-foot table. His feet are now on a box. His feet are elevated. His feet are being. What are you doing, sir?
I am tying his feet up.
All right, his feet are being tied up.
1, 2, aligned.
Ooh, this isn't that bad.
When you try and take a breath in, the cellophane goes in your mouth, and then lights out.
Conclusion, it's torture. Same thing happened after police started employing tasers. Remember that? There was a big debate over whether or not that was excessive force on the part of the police. So a bunch of reporters lined up to get tasered. Are you ready?
Yeah.
Hold him. Just turn him over on his stomach.
Oh, God.
An idea of how regular people might react. Oh my God, that hurts.
I'm the crime reporter for the Chronicle in Centralia, and I'm about to get tased. I'm told that it hurts like hell.
Now, the new weapon of choice for police, as we're seeing so often used against peaceful Occupy Wall Street protesters, is pepper spray. GOP TV, also known as Fox News, has been quick to defend pepper spray as not being all that bad.
All that pepper spray, and they were just sitting there pretty calm, like they must not make it the way they
used to.
Yeah, they must have diluted that.
Spraying it, man.
Those kids should have been rolling around in the grass, crying, running. I mean, are you kidding me? But the image is obviously disturbing.
That's what I need to carry. You know, when liberals attack conservatives, you got to have one of those big canisters on your hip and go spray the whole crowd. Did they cross a line? I don't think so.
I say 100% pepper spray.
You do?
Yep. And some parenting classes as well.
First of all, pepper spray, that just burns your eyes, right?
Right. I mean, it's like a derivative of actual pepper. It's a food product, essentially. But a lot of experts are looking at that and saying, is that the real deal? Has it been diluted?
Yeah, it's just a food product. No problem. While Fox seems to be content defending the use of pepper spray, no one there is lining up to be pepper sprayed like Hannity was lining up to be waterboarded. Maybe that's because pepper spray really is that bad. I had the inventor of pepper spray on my show this week, and I asked him, if pepper spray is a food product, can I put it on my burrito? He didn't exactly find it funny. Could I use weapons-grade pepper spray to spice up a burrito?
Pepper spray is so fortified and is formulated to a point with gases and propellants, and the chemical itself has gone through such a mutation, let's call it, and evolve, that you really can't eat it. It's impossible to eat it. It's not food anymore. Thousands of times stronger than any kind of hot pepper you've ever put in your mouth.
Wow. And I've had hot pepper. Yeah, I love hot peppers.
It is designed to immediately produce inflammation of mucous membranes. That means your eyes shut, you have difficulty in breathing. What are the long-term effects of these individuals? I mean, you know, each one of us respond to chemicals and diseases are differently. We don't know what's going to happen to these eyes or to this respiratory system. I mean, we just entered the unknown world. That's why I was shocked.
Yeah. And this was the guy who invented pepper spray. The point of this, pepper spray is a chemical weapon. It is more painful than getting tasered and has far more long-lasting effects than waterboarding, at least physically. Which might be why GOP TV talking heads are willing to praise its use from afar, but not willing to put their face in front of one of Lieutenant Pike's pepper spray canisters. And until they do, until Hannity or Megyn Kelly or O'Reilly walk the walk and take in a face full of pepper spray, then they should hold off on making comments about how it's a legitimate use of force against peaceful protesters in the Occupy Wall Street movement.
All right, very good thing. Now, you know, yeah, Fox, I mean, it's just ridiculous. I'd like to see all of those people on Fox sprayed with pepper spray. I would like to see their reaction. They would react badly because they're all a big bunch of crybabies over there, complaining. They have nothing else to talk about except to lie to the American people. And the more that others keep listening, the more they're going to keep lying to you. They put a pretty face on the news, and then she goes and she says something like that. That's horrendous, because if you got pepper sprayed, you wouldn't like it. And I'm guessing that if Megyn Kelly got pepper sprayed, she wouldn't like it one bit. And as someone who's a new mother, she should know better. She should certainly know better. Now, here's a couple of stories. U.S. agents launder Mexican profits of drug cartels. Nice, huh? Undercover American narcotics agents have laundered or smuggled millions of dollars in drug proceeds as part of Washington's expanding role in Mexico's fight against drug cartels, according to current and former federal law enforcement officials. The agents, primarily with the DEA, have handled shipments of hundreds of thousands of dollars in illegal cash across borders. These officials said to identify how criminal organizations move their money, where they keep their assets, and most important, who their leaders are. They said agents had deposited the drug proceeds in accounts designated by traffickers or in shell accounts set up by agents. So again, more corruption going on. There's a drug war that goes on in the United States over medical grade marijuana that can help people with their illnesses, and at the same time you got U.S. agents are laundering drug money and all kind of other corruption. So they lie, they go and they do the things they tell you not to do, and then they get upset when it's pointed out that they're doing the wrong things. Now here's one last story. This one is rather upsetting. This was Lenore Zimmerman, outraged as TSA denies its strip search the 85-year-old Long Island grandmother. The feds on Saturday flatly denied that it was an 85-year-old Long Island woman who was strip searched at Kennedy Airport, sparking a fresh round of outrage from the already steaming mad granny. Lenore Zimmerman told the Daily News Friday that security screeners whisked her into a private room, took off all her clothes after she requested a pat-down. A Transportation Security Administration spokesman said the proper procedures were followed during the Tuesday encounter. But on Saturday, the TSA went further, saying the strip search was not conducted in this case. That prompted a furious response from Zimmerman, who had a defibrillator and used as a walker to get around. They're lying to protect their ass because they're afraid of being sued, and they will be sued, Zimmerman fumed from her winter home in Coconut Creek, Florida. Why would I make up this story, she said. In my wildest dreams I couldn't think of such a thing. She was on her way to Fort Lauderdale-bound flight when she was asked if she could forego the advanced image technology screening equipment, fearing it might interfere with her defibrillator. They took me into a private screening room, pulled my pants down, and then pulled down my underwear. The 4'11" Zimmerman said, "If that's not a strip searching, I don't know what else you can call it." Again, folks, what if this was your grandmother? How would you feel about that? You wouldn't feel very good about it. If this was your mother, if this was your sister, if this was somebody that you know, you wouldn't feel very good about it. Yet these perverts, these TSA agents, are doing this kind of thing on a regular basis, and they're getting away with it. All of these TSA agents, man, in my opinion, they do something like this, I'd have no issue knowing that they drop dead on the spot. Because then if we got these scumbags out of the planet, then maybe things might be a little bit better. Because this is horrendous. It is wrong that they are doing this to little kids, to older people, to anybody. This is wrong, wrong, wrong. And as long as Americans keep thinking it's okay, it's going to keep happening. America, you're losing your country quicker and quicker every day. And all the time you're distracted by all of the things that don't make a difference. You're losing your country. It's going down the tubes and it's going fast. Pretty soon the president is going to go on a 17-day vacation. In the midst of all that's going on, he has 2.5 weeks that he can just take off in the midst of all of these problems. It's a joke. You've been lied to, you're being scammed, and America is going down the tubes. You better do something about it, Americans. You better wake up, and you better find a way to share this information with others. Because if not, you're going to be looking at the backside of this issue, and you're not going to like what happened and where you got to be. Because the powers that be don't have your best intent in mind. Not at all. Because if they did, they wouldn't be strip searching 85-year-old women, grandmothers. They wouldn't be doing that. They wouldn't be strip searching little kids in airports if they had your best intent. They wouldn't be repealing the Constitution if they had your best intent. They wouldn't be creating more money and wanting to see the Federal Reserve keep going and ripping people off if they had your best intent. On and on and on. There are many things they are doing that are not for your best intent. I know I'm ranting about the same things over and over, but I don't know what it's going to take because I can't understand the disconnect that's going on with Americans these days. You're losing your country. You're losing your freedoms. And you're laughing all the way, not even realizing it. Wake up, please. Wake up. Now, very last thing we're going to get to here is our meditation. We're going to step away from all of this craziness and nonsense because this craziness and nonsense exists. Unfortunately, it is something we have to deal with. Maybe it's part of the big plan for everybody to grow and evolve. But right now, we need to be able to understand that with all the problems in the world, that there are solutions. And the solutions are very simple. At the beginning of every show, we talk about the energy. Well, that's the important thing. Life is filled with energy. Life is all about how we utilize energy. Each and every one of us has an opportunity to use our energy to make a positive change in the world. And the way you do it is by going in and connecting with the energy that you have available to you. You do this by opening your chakras, by using meditation, by getting in touch with the higher part of yourself, that higher consciousness part of yourself that we all have. So, that in mind, close your eyes, relax, and let us imagine all of our chakras are activated, starting with the chakra at the bottom of your spine. Remember, these are all energy centers, and these help us to connect into the energy that is available to us from the great creative spirit in life. The bottom of the spine, the color of the chakra is red, and the lower chakra deals with earthly energies, the physical energies, the primal energies of survival instinct. And from there, the energy raises up higher to the chakra above it, which is right at your belly button. And this deals with your emotional body issues. And the color of this chakra is orange. And then imagine the energy raising up to the next chakra. Just below your rib cage, the color is yellow. This is your intellectual body. And the chakra and the energies deal with the issues of your intellectual body. Yellow. And then raise the energy up higher to the middle of your chest, to your heart space. Imagine the color green. Green is the chakra of love, the heart color chakra. The green colored love chakra. Then you raise the energy up higher to your throat. This is the chakra of communication. The color of this chakra is blue. Then the energy raises up higher to your third eye. Your third eye is just between your two eyebrows. And this is the center point where you're able to see past the dimensions of third-dimensional reality into the dimensions of space and time. The color of this chakra is violet. And finally, to the top of your head, the chakra, at your crown chakra, is indigo. It's that violet color going into the white color, and then as it continues on, up into the cosmos, it becomes the bright white. And you utilize all of these energies now with open chakras. You utilize all these energies in your body. Just feel and see the multicolored, and then allow all of this energy to overflow. And as it does, you'll notice a line of light around your body. This is your spiritual armor. This is given to you by God to utilize as your earthly protection. And all you have to do is imagine that this protection is around you. Now, just focus on the word consciousness. Consciousness. And as you focus on the word consciousness, notice that your thoughts raise themselves up, and you begin to understand things in a more philosophic manner, because you understand that consciousness is a living, breathing aspect of the universe that has much more higher ideals than the physical world has to offer. And by raising our consciousness up to these higher ideals, we touch the mind of God, and we are in sync with what it is that God, Great Spirit, Divine Providence, has in line for us. Let's imagine now sending all around the world love to each and every individual around the planet, friends and enemies alike, because we must send out love. We must love our enemies, because by sending love, it allows them the opportunity to change from being the enemy to being the friend. Life, my friends, is a constant state of change, and we all have the ability to change and grow. Even those who are in the darkest places of life can change and evolve by simply being in touch with the spirit that God provides for each and every one of us. So let's just think a good thought for everyone around the planet right now. And as we do, bring our energy and attention back to the present moment on the count of 3. 3, coming back to the present moment filled with confidence. 2, coming back to the present moment filled with faith. And 1, coming back to the present moment happy, healthy, and whole. Happy, healthy, and whole. There you have it, my friends. That's our show, our prayer, our meditation. A lot of information today. I know I was only able to get to some of it. Go back, reread the articles. FirstContactRadio.com. On the right-hand side, you're going to see the links, daily news. It's all the daily stories. You're going to see the link for UFO news. It's all the daily UFO stories that we do. Lots of information. Follow the links. Download the song, Wake Up. Pass it around. Share it with others. We all need to wake up, my friends, around here, because if we don't wake up, well, bad things are going to go on, and I think you'd rather be awake so that these bad things don't go on. And I'm not talking about physically sleeping. I'm talking about mentally and spiritually being asleep. Now is the time to be awake, truly awake to what is the plan that great Creator has for all of us on this planet. For Dirk Bradshaw, my name is Josh Poet. I'll be back tomorrow with more news information. Till then, have a great day. Peace. I'm out of here.